The motel's neon sign flickered weakly in the darkness, casting a sickly red glow over the empty parking lot. Rain fell in sheets, the relentless drumming on the roof mixing with the hum of the old vending machine near the office door. A lone figure stood under the awning, hood pulled low, hands shoved into the pockets of a faded leather jacket. His gaze was fixed on the road, waiting for something or someone. Across the lot, Emily stumbled out of the van with the rest of her college group, all of them soaked to the bone from the downpour. The long-awaited trip to the Pacific Northwest had been thrilling at first, a hiking expedition to Crater Lake, laughter echoing through the winding trails, the promise of adventure. But now, after a day of being lost in the wilderness and trudging through miles of relentless rain, the thrill had long since faded. They were cold, tired, and irritable. "God, I just need a shower and a bed," sighed Becca, one of Emily's friends, pulling her damp backpack off her shoulders. "This is the worst idea we've ever had." "It wasn't supposed to rain like this," said Jake, their self-appointed leader, who had been insufferable since they started. "We'll be back on track tomorrow." Emily didn't say anything. She hadn't said much since they got lost earlier that day. She kept thinking about the way the trees seemed to close in on them, the way the forest had gone completely silent at times, as if holding its breath. And then there was the cabin, the abandoned one they had stumbled across while trying to find the trail. The broken windows, the half-rotten furniture, the strange symbols carved into the walls. No one else seemed to care, laughing it off as creepy but cool. But Emily had felt it. Something was wrong. She couldn't shake the feeling. The group shuffled into the motel, their boots leaving muddy tracks on the faded linoleum floor of the lobby. The man behind the counter barely looked up, his thick glasses reflecting the glow of his ancient computer monitor. Emily hung back, her eyes wandering toward the windows. The parking lot was empty, except for a lone motorcycle parked near the far edge. And that figure, still standing under the awning, unmoving, the red glow of the sign lighting up their silhouette. She felt a chill crawl up her spine. It wasn't just the rain or the cold. Something about that person felt off. "Emily, you coming?" Jake's voice broke her train of thought. She turned to see the rest of the group already heading down the hallway toward their rooms. "Yeah," she said quickly, following them. But as she walked, she glanced over her shoulder. The figure was still there, and though she couldn't see their face, she could swear they were watching her. The room was small and smelled faintly of mildew, but the hot shower was heaven. Emily let the water run over her, washing away the grime and exhaustion of the day. She closed her eyes and tried to breathe deeply, but her mind kept drifting back to the forest, to the symbols in the cabin, to the figure in the parking lot. By the time she stepped out of the bathroom, the others were already sprawled on the beds, scrolling through their phones or half asleep. She grabbed a towel and headed to the window, pulling aside the curtain just enough to peek outside. The figure was gone. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, but her relief was short-lived. In the faint reflection of the glass, she thought she saw movement behind her. A shadow, quick and fleeting. She spun around, heart hammering, but the room was still. Just Jake snoring on the far bed and Becca texting furiously. "Get it together," she muttered to herself, closing the curtain. Night fell heavily, the storm easing into a light drizzle. The motel was silent, except for the occasional creak of the old pipes or the distant hum of a car passing on the highway. Emily lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The others were asleep, their breathing deep and even, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. Something didn't feel right. She got up quietly, grabbing her jacket and slipping out of the room. The hallway was dimly lit, the flickering overhead lights casting strange shadows on the walls. She made her way to the lobby, where the vending machine buzzed faintly in the corner. She just needed air, she told herself. A few minutes outside to clear her head. The parking lot was eerily quiet. The rain had stopped, but the air was thick with the scent of wet asphalt and pine. She stepped out under the awning, pulling her hood up, and froze. The motorcycle was still there, but now the figure was leaning against it, arms crossed as if waiting. The neon sign above them flickered, and for a moment she caught a glimpse of their face. A man, maybe in his late 20s, with sharp features and piercing eyes that seemed to cut through the darkness. "Can't sleep?" he asked, his voice low but clear, carrying across the empty lot. Emily took a cautious step back, her pulse racing. "Who are you?" He tilted his head, a small smirk playing on his lips. "Just passing through, like you. Why are you watching me?" At that, the smirk faded, replaced by something colder, more serious. "You should go back inside," he said quietly. "Stick with your friends, stay on the road tomorrow, and whatever you do, don't go back to that cabin." Her stomach dropped. "How do you know about the cabin?" His eyes didn't waver. "Just trust me, you're not the first group to wander into those woods. And if you're smart, you'll make sure you're the last." The sound of a door creaking open behind her made her jump. She turned to see Jake standing in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. "Emily, what the hell are you doing out here?" When she turned back, the man was gone. The motorcycle, too. The next morning, the group up and left the motel. The rain had cleared and the sun was trying to break through the clouds as they loaded their gear into the van. Emily couldn't stop thinking about the man, his warning, the way he had disappeared without a sound. As they drove away, she glanced out the window at the forest, the trees standing tall and silent along the roadside. She didn't say anything to the others. They wouldn't believe her anyway. But deep down, she knew this wasn't over. The cabin was still out there, hidden in the woods, waiting. And whatever was inside, it wasn't finished with them yet.